Okay. Okay, here we go. Okay, Tuesday the 20th. We're in Dedham. Here we go. Let's check. Let me just do a check. I think everything is good here. I think we should have. Yep, good audio. Good audio. And we're live on TikTok again. All right. Gian says we're good to go. All right. Folks, we're going to start in just a couple moments. I'm going to give you the update. We are right across from the court. You can see I have my media pass. There's only 10 of those given out. And I have one for this week. Let's see. Let's see. Bum, 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 bum. Okay, I'll get to that. We're going to be live in 4 minutes now. We are live on TikTok. We're also live on Facebook and X and YouTube, and we're going to be live on depetro.com in AM 1380 and 99.9 FM. So let me just okay. I don't know what's going on with that. We'll come back to that. Let me just check. Folks, we're going to be live in 4 minutes. Gian is standing by. But again, it was all right. There's our YouTube connection. Sounds nice and clear, doesn't it? Now, and I'm going to talk reality. We're going to talk reality. Yep. Geo notices that we upgraded the audio a little bit. You know, one of the things about doing this, and then when you have to be on location the way we are, is, and you can see they're coming out right now for the lunch break. You're going to see some of the people. I can see Karen Reed's parents right there. Let me move this in front of the courthouse. You can see there's her parents as we're on lunch break. And that also works out perfectly time wise with us to come out and then be live at this time from 1 to 2. So we're going to be live for the next hour. And I don't have a guest. So we're going to stay live the whole time on TikTok as well. Now, again, if you know of another page of someone who was just in the courtroom, you're more than welcome. But I want to tell you, as someone that knows the case, you could see me. I was on Court TV last night. I'll be on Court TV again tonight, 9 o'clock, 9 to 10. So we're going to be starting just a moment, folks. I do want to mention, totally unrelated. Those in the area would know Matunuck Oyster Bar. Wow, that is just horrible, devastating fire overnight. Matunuck Oyster Bar. Now, years ago, they used to be the Seagull right down there. It's right near East Matunuck. Matunuck Oyster Bar has quickly emerged as just a phenomenal, incredible, thank you for that, incredible restaurant. And it seems like it's burned and ruined for the season. Actually, unimaginable the week leading into, I mean, this weekend is Memorial Day weekend. So that is a huge, huge loss. And there's so many people that live down in that area that Matunuck Oyster Bar is, I mean, it's just fantastic. It's excellent. It's the closest thing to a perfect restaurant. So, all right, we're gonna start in 1 minute, and I'm gonna give you the latest. I know people say, "Give me an update. What's going on?" But it's just easier if I just do it when we start and so forth, which we're gonna do momentarily. Let me just see how long. Um, we are good to go in just about 20 seconds. We're going to start, and I'll tell you everything that happened in court, how I see things, how I see things. Um, on this very chilly Tuesday. It's not hot. It's not here hot here in the Northeast. The weather this week is it's certainly not summer like. All right. In a 106, we're gonna start. Folks. All right. Yes, it's the chosen one. We are outside of court in Denham. I'm going to give you the latest. I was just sitting in that court. I'm going to be back there this afternoon. This is the Karen Reed retrial. Now, we're going to work in some other news a little bit, but this is why people, I believe, would tune in. You want a live report, you want to get the latest. I like to have people that are inside the courtroom. I like to have people that are, on the scene that can tell you what's happening. There's definitely a little more activity here at the we're right across from the courthouse, but we'll bring you the latest. Now again, right now we are live on AM 1380, 99.9 FM. You can listen online at the website dpetro.com, and then right now from 1 to 2 we're live on Facebook, we're live on YouTube, we're live on X, and now we've also added TikTok, which actually is our biggest platform with 108,000 followers. This portion of the program, and I can see there's the Karen Reed defense. That is Karen Reed and her team just right now leaving the courthouse, and then they'll go for lunch. This portion of the program, folks, is brought to you by PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center, 3688 Quaker Lane in North Kingstown. She has some supporters here, and that's who the people that are cheering that you can hear. Stop it and see everything available: annuals, perennials, trees and shrubs, hanging pots, 10-inch, 12-inch moss baskets, hanging impatiens, pansy marigold bags, large selection of beautiful patio pots, vegetable plants and herbs, tropical mandevillas and hibiscus plants. They have it all. They're open 7 days a week. It's PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center. As always, visit our website, dpetro.com. By the way, we're going to have new police body cam video going up later today on depetro.com, brought to you by the Coesit Inn, 226 Coesit Avenue, West Warwick. Lunch, dinner, drinks, the lounge. They're waiting for you at the Coesit Inn. So I want to just reset with what happened this morning. And I think it's really important. And people may have different perspectives on what they believe took place here. And that is, you have the prosecution, the Commonwealth, presented this expert on the stand. And this is someone who, with Aperture, yep, and he has broken out, and they map together exactly what happened with um, with John O'Keefe's phone, and also with Karen Reed's Lexus. So that's what they did to pair it up. Now, yesterday, what you saw was the defense essentially trying to go after this guy. And this is what it seemingly comes down to. They're trying to say, because his LinkedIn profile is, which he hasn't touched apparently in 10 years, that because he hasn't updated his LinkedIn profile, that as a result of that, none of the information can be believed. So here's where I break off of that. Notice they're not, it's as if they're accepting. They're not even challenging the data that they put forward. And it's really interesting to see just how much technology has come into play, to see just how much, whether it is your vehicle, when you're driving your car, especially some of the newer vehicles, you don't even realize, I don't think, that you have a full computer essentially in your vehicle. And then the same thing with your phone. I mean, we all just think about our cell phones, and everyone just keeps upgrading their cell phone. But what I think people take for granted is there's a lot of information in there, and especially like the Waze app, whether it's the GPS. But I think the most important thing here that I take away is the Karen Reed defense. They're not disputing that it's her Lexus SUV, and you have an expert that peers up his phone, and her SUV backs up at the exact time that John O'Keefe's cell phone stops moving. They're not even contending that. Their argument is that this guy's LinkedIn profile is not up to date. Now, I put up yesterday, I don't know how many people's LinkedIn profile is up to date. I have no idea the last time. I don't really go on LinkedIn. There's several things about this. If you're watching right now, I mean, be honest, how many people really have their LinkedIn profile up to date? I find many of the people that are very active on LinkedIn or have their LinkedIn profile up to date are people that are actively seeking work. But this guy said that he has not really bothered with it in 10 years. And then his company's website put up some information about him. So, but I want to tell you about the jury. As I looked at the jury, and there's 18 people, there's still 18 people in the jury. I'm going to guess. Now, I don't know, but I'm going to guess a third of them. I'm going to say a third. Yeah, I'd say a third probably did not attend college. And of the remaining 12, it's very possible that not all of them finished college. So, where I think Hank Brennan, the special prosecutor, where I think he was very effective was, Elon Musk did not finish college. Mark Zuckerberg did not finish college. Bill Gates did not finish college. Steve Jobs didn't finish college. I don't think it was successful for the defense. See, this is the problem when you have this ultra liberal Massachusetts elite attitude that everyone goes to college, that everyone graduates from a prestigious school. Look at what has happened where the universities, let's talk about Harvard and the Trump administration, how much they're slashing funding. These quote elite universities that the defense seem to be fans of, they seem to be the most anti-Semitic universities in the country. So this arrogant attitude of bashing someone who, is still working on his degree but is still an expert. See, this is where I break off with the Karen Reed defenses. I don't think you have to be a college grad in order to be considered an expert. As I said, Elon Musk didn't graduate college. Bill Gates didn't finish college. Steve Jobs didn't finish college. Mark Zuckerberg didn't finish college. There's a lot of people that did not finish college. There's a lot of entrepreneurs that did not finish college. There's a lot of people that are now experts in their field that did not finish college. So I don't think that that was successful. And I'm telling you, as I look at this jury, my impression, I thought they were a little put off by the condescending, liberal, elitist tone. The liberal elite universities that President Trump is going after are the ones, as I've said, that have harbored the most anti Semitism. The past 2 years have shown us anything that its Jewish students have been felt unsafe and under attack on the campus of the quote elite universities like Columbia and Harvard and MIT and UPenn. So I'm not convinced that that is the winning argument to try to shame this guy. It still comes back to, and I want to stay on schedule here, folks. This portion of our program is brought to you by Propane Plus. Call them today, 401 885 4209. In Massachusetts, 508 252 3359. Propane Plus for all your heating and cooling. You can depend on Propane Plus. Check out their website. They have a very user friendly website. It's propaneplus.com. Residential or commercial, you just type in your zip code and boom, for all your propane needs, you can depend on Propane Plus. Residential or commercial, call them today at 401 885 4209 or in Massachusetts, 508 252 3359 for Propane Plus. By the way, before I forget, with what happened with Matunic Oyster Bar, a disaster, a fire, the place is destroyed. Overnight fire, 3:30 in the morning. Seems very odd. I don't know what happened. But what I do know is they should call ServPro of Providence. this is who you call. They're available 24/7. When disaster strikes, you can depend on Serve Pro of Providence, 401 941 5500. Serve Pro of Providence. They're fast, they're thorough, they're professional. Call Serve Pro of Providence today, 401 941 5500. You can look for them online, serveproprovidence.com. Fast, thorough, professional. They're available 24/7. It's Serve Pro of Providence. Now, getting back to the Karen Reed trial, as someone that has covered, I was adding it up, and it's somewhere between 25 and 30 different court proceedings. Uh, I have found, my experience has been that, and especially in this case, the jury's getting a lot of information thrown at them. And, I see there's some members of the jury, they're writing down everything. They're like a stenographer, they're literally writing down everything. Some of them write down things occasionally. And then you have some members of the jury that I see very rare if they're writing anything down. So my point is, with every case, they don't sit down and go through every aspect. As they sit down, and jurors have told me, when they discuss the case, there's certain things that are really memorable. There's certain things that really break through. There's certain things that make an impression on everyone. And every trial is different. I've said, I covered the Aaron Hernandez case. After that, case, and there was a lot of testimony and, defense witnesses, and even that, you even had three people that were in the car. But with well, granted, they were charged with conspiracy, but with the Aaron Hernandez case, what the jurors said, what really stood out to them. So when they're sitting and they're discussing it, they all mentioned something. One of the things they mentioned was Robert Kraft said that when he's talking to Aaron, he pulled him out of the weight room at Gillette. And Aaron Hernandez said to Bob Kraft, I was in a club when that guy was killed. And what the jurors came away from that saying was the time had not been, when he said that to Robert Kraft, the owner of the Patriots. By the way, how about Bill Belichick is engaged? Bill Belichick needs an intervention. Supposedly, he's rumored to be getting engaged from the girlfriend. His kids better be careful. She's going to take half of everything he has. Talk about not no fool like an old fool. But just staying with this, stay with me. What the jury came away with was the time had not been released. So when Aaron Hernandez said to Patriot owner Bob Kraft, I was in a club when that guy was killed. The question was, how would he have known when he was killed? Because the time had not been released. So there's little things. It didn't come down to, there were other little things, right? Like the bubble gum and the rental car. Don't get me wrong, they had a lot of evidence, but there's certain things that should just break through. So what I'm telling you with this witness that we've had that has paired up John O'Keefe's cell phone, Officer John O'Keefe's cell phone, with Karen Reed's Lexus, what I believe the takeaway is here, people are going after the guy and trying to discredit him because he didn't update his LinkedIn profile. I'm also telling you, I'm willing to bet that there's a certain number of jurors, maybe even a third, that don't even know what LinkedIn is. And I'll be honest, folks, it starts to become a little convoluted. It does. And I think some people, when you're seeing all these numbers, my experience has been that juries many times just start to tune out. They just start to tune out. But what stays with them is the Lexus was backing up and then his phone stopped moving. In this trial, everything is outside. In this trial, everything is by the flagpole. In the first trial, they had all the different people that were inside the house on the stand. And every person that got up was treated as a suspect in essence. But right now, I'm telling you, on day 19, he's outside the house. There's nothing. There's no one that has put him inside the house. His phone doesn't put him inside the house. Um, it's all happening outside, and now you have her Lexus backing up outside, and then his phone no longer moving. So people can try to spin this any way they want. I also want to touch on defense attorney Robert Alessi. Some members of the media think he's riveting. Let me be very clear, really nice guy. And when I see him, we're very cordial. I friendly to him. Seems like he's a smart guy. But I'm telling you that he definitely has a tendency to drone on a little bit. And I find that Special Prosecutor Hank Brennan, to me, has a better command of the courtroom, thus the jury. When Hank Brennan got up on redirect and was questioning the expert on the stand, this guy Burgess, who's very knowledgeable, by the way. If you want to tear into the guy because his resume is not up to date or his LinkedIn profile is outdated, I don't know what to tell you about that. But if somebody wants to go after him for that, but I'm telling you, when Hank Brennan was questioning him, it becomes what I call, you could either call it ping pong or tennis match. And that is the jury is looking at Brennan, then they're looking at the witness, then they're looking at Brennan, then they're looking at the witness. It's not easy to do that, and they don't do that with everybody. As a matter of fact, many times when defense attorney Robert Alessi is questioning someone, they're looking all over the place. They may be looking at Alessi, they could be looking around the room, they could be looking down. Brennan holds their attention. Brennan turns them into what I would say, like if you've ever been to a tennis match where you're literally going back and forth. I think Brennan has a bigger command. I come back to, I'm not, he's talking about LinkedIn. Not everyone knows what that is, and not everyone's on it. And I was just thinking yesterday, if I'm a member of the jury, I might be thinking, oh my God, when's the last time I updated my LinkedIn? I don't know. The company he works for on their website put something up about him. I'm not. It's not like he wrote it. I'm telling you, I think people are misrepresenting that. Oh, this guy's treated as a liar and he embellished everything. But I'm telling you, I believe the takeaway is there's her vehicle, there's the Lexus, there's his cell phone. They're riding together. He does the 3-point turn when they miss it, and then boom, his cell phone stops moving at the flagpole, and then after she had backed up. If people want to say that doesn't mean anything, if people want to say the jury is not going to believe that because that guy didn't update his LinkedIn, then good luck. I do not believe that is holding the weight. Maybe, who knows? Maybe there's some people, maybe there's someone on the jury saying, I can't believe someone that doesn't update their LinkedIn page. I don't know. Maybe are there people like that? Are there people like that say, I don't know. I was believing him till I then realized he had not updated his Facebook page in several years. Possible, possible. I'm not saying impossible. He didn't update his LinkedIn page. That's the new one on me. That one I have not heard. Heard a number of different defenses. So not guilty by virtue of the fact he didn't update his LinkedIn page. I am telling you, I don't think that's the takeaway. I think the takeaway is the Lexus and the cell phone. That's my impression. That's what I'm seeing. Folks, this portion of the program is brought to you by Roofco Rhode Island. Now, if you're thinking you need a new roof, hey, if you want to improve the value of your home or business, a new roof can do that. 401-868-7149. Roofco Rhode Island. Free estimate. Free estimate. Maybe you have wind damage. They'll give a free estimate. Leaky roof, missing lifted or curled shingles, granules in the gutter, damaged chimney flashing. Call Roofco Rhode Island, 401-868-7149, 401-868-7149 for Roofco Rhode Island. Well, folks, good afternoon. I will be doing Court TV tonight. I think we're going to do Road Patrol Live. I don't know yet. Decision to be made closer to game time. But I want to talk about, there's so much evidence that comes in. And again, we are in Dedham. We're outside of the Karen retrial. And we are live right now on TikTok and also on X, and also on YouTube, and also on Facebook, and also obviously on AM 1380, 99.9 FM, and on DePetro.com. Listen, people are going to believe whatever they want, but what I'm telling you is many times when there's so much information poured in, you'd be surprised at what the jury takes away from the whole thing. And then to me, my experience has been it comes down to some some evidence or witnesses that prove to have impact as compelling witnesses. And if this guy, if you want to throw out, his name is Shannon Burgess, you want to throw out all of his testimony because he didn't update his LinkedIn page, then, be my guest. But what I'm telling you is not every witness is an impactful witness. Many witnesses, by the end of the trial, the first couple of witnesses are a blur to the jury. But I'm telling you that I believe John O'Keefe's niece, when she testified and she talked about they had been fighting, and she talked about Karen Reed waking her up because she needed cell phones and she was frantic and she was acting crazy and most likely still intoxicated. And Karen Reed, between 4:30 and 5 that morning, Karen Reed telling John O'Keefe's niece, did I hit him? Maybe I hit him. John was killed by a snowplow. I'm telling you that I believe that's the type of thing that makes a strong impression. And it also, to me, it really cuts into for those that were trying to permeate this concept of a conspiracy, right? The conspiracy is that he was lured to the house, he was set up, and the moment he went in, he was sucker punched, beaten to death with no motive or murder weapon in the basement of the house, and then tossed out to the front lawn. So there's an awful lot of people that would have to be involved if you believe that conspiracy. And by the way, as I say this, there's a lot of people that believe the conspiracy. There are. And I'm not trying to convince any of you otherwise. As a matter of fact, many times when I'm on social media, there's more people that believe the conspiracy than don't believe the conspiracy. But this is my approach, folks. I believe you have to, and I don't try to get into the weeds with some of those people, but to me, you want to have the truth has to be out there for people who are seeking the truth. Many times when something happens, I'm trying to find information. I'm trying to find out. And I'm always attracted to people that tell me something I don't know and provide me with information. So with me, it's very simple. I tell you what the evidence shows. I don't have a dog in the fight, so to speak. I didn't know any of these individuals before this trial started. I started hearing about the case summer 2 years ago. And I just feel that there are people that are trying to find out, the truth of what happened. And so what I try to do is just put out the information that I have. Again, at the end, everyone makes their own decisions. There's still some people, no matter what gets dispelled, there were people that still believe the Google search happened at 227. There's no evidence that says that the experts said what didn't happen. It also just doesn't make sense. Like the actions don't make sense. Jen McCabe's actions that morning don't make sense. She doesn't fit the profile. She was the one trying to tell Karen Reed to stop talking. Um, I mean, to me, it doesn't make sense. But there are still some people that think she made the Google search at 227, even though the experts have said it never happened. There's also right now, as we speak, there are some people that still think that it happened inside the house. But what I'm trying to tell you is they can't get him in the house. They don't have him in the house. They will get a chance to put on their own defense. But as of right now, they don't have him in the house. Everything's happening outside of the house. So now I believe we're getting close to the end here for the prosecution. The Commonwealth, Hank Brennan Adam Lally, Miss McLaughlin, I believe that they are going to rest maybe this week. Today's Tuesday. So you have the remaining part of today. I think Brennan will do redirect. And then the next witness, I mean, there could be another witness before the end of the day because then Elise will want to get up to eat up more time. Um, Thursday morning will be crucial because there's no court on Thursday afternoon, and then there's no court on Friday. And so, what the jury takes with them for the long weekend, that's considered valuable real estate. As far as the trial, those involved with it, that's valuable real estate for what you put into the minds of the jury before they go into the long weekend. Folks, this portion of the program is brought to you by Quality Asphalt Seal Coating. Call Corey today, 401 283 9815. 401 283 9815. They can resurface a pickleball court, tennis court, basketball court. They can epoxy garages, patios, decorative concrete flooring that make your pavement look like new. They can fix your parking lot, fix potholes, cracks. Look for them on Facebook, but call them free estimate. Quality Asphalt Seal Coating. Hey, they can epoxy your garage, make your patio look brand new. Decorative concrete flooring. Call them today. Free estimate 401 283 9815. 401 283 9815 for Quality Asphalt Seal Coating. So last night I was on Court TV with Vinny, and also someone goes by the name of Nurse Kim, and we were talking about the injuries to Officer John O'Keefe. And a lot of people I see mention things like this. Here's what I see people put: his injuries are not consistent with a vehicle strike. His injuries are not consistent with a vehicle strike. I see people put that, and I know where it comes from. And part of that actually is true because as someone that goes out, right, with road patrol, we cover live incidents like that. We really only do that stuff if it's fatal, if the road closure, or if it's a fatal pedestrian strike. Otherwise, we normally don't do a lot of that stuff. But here's what we know about pedestrian strikes: the majority of them are someone is driving and they're going forward and hit the person, and then therefore they propel them forward, and then they have certain injuries that are consistent with being hit by a vehicle that is going at a certain speed in a certain direction. Some of you may remember 2 months ago, a guy tried to cross 95 right by Crossroads at like 11:30 at night. He tried to, I don't know what happened, run across, walk across, I don't know. But he was struck. I mean, it was terrible. He was struck by someone who was traveling 60 miles an hour, 65 miles an hour. So when they say he had injuries not consistent with a vehicle strike, well, let's talk about what those injuries were. The injuries were, and it was very graphic, but he had a big gash, 2 inches, 3 inches on the back of his head. And also, his right arm had abrasions as though someone's bracing for impact. He also, Kerry Roberts, they talked about his right eye. His right eye was like a golf ball. It was like an egg. His right eye. Now later at the hospital, both of his eyes, it's terrible to even think about, but both of his eyes had like that perfect raccoon look, they call it. Now that is normally caused, we've learned, or if you follow it, by when there is severe injury to the brain, and then there's hemorrhaging and bleeding, and then it fills out into the eyes in that way. And that's why you see, they call them like perfect raccoon eyes. But initially, it was just the right eye. So when people say his injuries are not consistent with a vehicle strike, part of that is true because most of the time, most of the time, the person who is struck is by a vehicle going forward. In this particular situation, and what the accident reconstruction, from what I understand, they're going to show, and they keep talking about that she clipped him. As a matter of fact, Karen Reed herself keeps saying, "Could I have clipped him?" So what they're basically saying is when she slammed it in reverse and went backwards. He caught, keep in mind, his right knee, the arm, so the tail light catches the right arm. Hank Brennan also, in the back of a Lexus, there's above the window, it's like a spoiler. If you're familiar with an SUV, most SUVs have it. I don't know if most vehicles have it, but most SUVs in the very back, I think that one even has it. It's like an overhang. And so I believe what they're saying is that's what caught his right eye. That's why the right eye was more damaged initially. And witnesses at the scene talked about his right eye really stood out to them. Poor John O'Keefe, as he's lying there, he had like an egg. It's like a golf ball above his right eye. That's where it struck it. So, what do they say? His injuries were not consistent with that. Well, we do know, and we talked about it last night on Court TV, that his body temperature was 80 degrees, I believe, 80, 81 when he got to the hospital. Now, keep in mind, the first thing they were trying to do was warm him up. And in the rescue on the way to the hospital, the first thing they were trying to do was warm him up. Keep in mind, your average body temperature is 98 degrees. Think if someone says, oh my God, I have a fever. My temperature is 101. So your body temperature is 98. So the fact that they were warming him up in the rescue and doing everything they can to try to warm him up. And when they got to Good Samaritan, his body temperature was still right around 80, 81 degrees. Now, that is someone with severe impact, right, to the back of the head, and then hypothermia. So, just to fill in the blanks, there are people that believe he was beaten in the house. Okay, that's one thing. But what I'm telling you is the Commonwealth, the state case says, and the accident reconstruction that they're going to put on is that when she backed up, the ground was hard as rock. And boom, she did clip him. And he slammed his head backwards. It's like he went straight back. Like, boom, totally just. It's very possible, actually, that his feet went flying up in the air and his head, you hate to think about it, but he fractured his skull when he hit the ground. Now, when that happened, it rendered him unconscious. Now, Karen Reed herself has said when she looked at him, he didn't look mortally wounded. She thought, oh, in his drunkenness, did I clip him? This is a quote she says on Dateline NBC. Did I clip him? And in his drunkenness, did I render him unable to get up? She said that, as a matter of fact. That seems to fall more in line to me logically with what happened. If for those, but those are the injuries. So I know that StreamYard is locked in. All right, so those on Facebook for whatever reason have lost access, but we're still rolling here. For some reason, I don't know why. There are some people that say his injuries were not caused by a car, but that's not that's not accurate. All of a sudden, so the device we use, StreamYard, says suddenly it's not available on Facebook. But we're good on YouTube, and we're good on X, and we're good on the radio, and then we're also good on TikTok. These apps can be very temperamental for whatever reason. So my point is, though, but that's what it explains it, that that's what they're contending. Now, I want to question people. Let's see if they can make a compelling case to the jury that that's what happened, because that's really all that matters. The big question is going to be, and it could be this week, that when accident reconstruction, when they get up, are they going to be able to make a convincing presentation that the Lexus, we just now have the Lexus backed up. So the next phase will be see how it's like pieces of a puzzle that all fit together, that the Lexus backing up struck him and then he fell back, was knocked unconscious essentially. He drove away, and then in the darkness, in the cold, in people not looking for someone, no one saw him. Not saying you have to believe it. I'm saying that seems to be the contention that the Commonwealth is making. Folks, this portion of the program brought to you by Kids Club on the Pike. Now, don't forget, they have their summer camp that's going to be starting. Kids Club on the Pike. It's right off of 295. Maybe you have your child go for a week, maybe for a month, maybe for the whole summer. Kids Club on the Pike. But the key is to call and reserve the spot for your child, 401 443 5336. 401 443 5336. They have a very good social media presence, great videos. Kids Club on the Pike. And this is also a perfect spot for a birthday party venue, before and after school care, preschool. But take advantage, reserve a spot for your child for their summer camp with Kids Club on the Pike. All right, well, folks, good afternoon on this Tuesday, May 20th. I also want to remind you, I received a nice email from Danny. Danny and his family had a delicious meal at the Lodge Pub and Eatery, 40 Breakneck Hill Road in Lincoln. Of course you did. Said the food was great, just like I've talked about. The service was tremendous. Don't forget, they also have the outside deck now. The Lodge Pub and Eatery, right off of 146, 40 Breakneck Hill Road in Lincoln. So, folks, good afternoon again on this Tuesday. So, tomorrow, this afternoon, I would imagine Hank Brennan, let me just check the latest, is going to continue. Hank Brennan is going to continue on redirect with this witness who, again, who knows? Maybe the jury finds it unacceptable that this guy did not update his LinkedIn profile. It's possible. This is a little concerning. Spring nor'easter in Massachusetts, latest storm timeline, expected impacts. This doesn't sound very promising. A developing spring nor'easter is expected to sweep in ahead of Memorial Day, bringing heavy rain, powerful wind gusts, and flooding. Rain will arrive in the Bay State Wednesday night into Thursday morning in the form of scattered showers before the windswept storm ramps up Thursday afternoon into the nighttime. All right, well, that doesn't sound very promising. All right, so that sounds like something we certainly have to watch. Let me, I want to just also, let me just double check right now. I want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Boy, I'm looking at Channel 10 has photos of that Matunic Oyster Bar, what's left of it. That looks like they're going to have to do a complete rebuild. A complete rebuild with Matunic Oyster Bar. Okay, 50-minute lunch break. Jury starts now, 12:58. Court still in session. Oh, lawyers arguing at sidebar. Christina Rex. So, okay, that's something to watch. So we're going to be back in right at 2 o'clock. And then I don't know what to make of this story about Bill Belichick. So, but folks, with the Karen Reed trial, now again, this is day 19. And I just want to caution people there. As I've said, right now, well, I'll give you a summation in just a moment. Right now, it's Tuesday, May 20th, 1:44. Again, we're live on the radio, we're live on YouTube, we're live on X. It's very possible. We're also live on TikTok. It's very possible that we lost our Facebook feed, which I could check. I mean, you never know. It's not easy with, okay. Okay, I'll find out exactly what happened with our Facebook situation. Okay, we will check into that. I'm not sure what happened with the feed, but in the meantime, folks, this portion of the program brought to you by Arch Design Builders. Remember, they specialize in residential design. Call them at 401 207 4124. 401 207 4124 for Arch Design Builders. Maybe you're thinking of redoing your kitchen or redoing a bathroom or a basement or a deck or a special project. Maybe you've been thinking about doing this. Arch Design Builders, family owned and operated, custom builds and remodels. It's Arch Design Builders. Call them today, set up that meeting with Roxanne at 401 218 9707. 401 218 9707 for Arch Design Builders. They do tremendous work. They, 5-star builder. It's Arch Design Builders, family owned and operated, custom build, customer service. Maybe you've been thinking of redoing your kitchen or your bathroom or a basement or a deck. Arch Design Builders, 401 207 4124, 401 207 4124. This is where you set up the free consultation with Ed and Roxanne. Call them today, 401 207 4124 for Arch Design Builders. Maybe it's time for a new kitchen. Maybe it's time for a new bathroom or a basement or a deck or a special project. Arch Design Builders. Give them a call today, 401 218 9707. Well, folks, good afternoon. Again, it does sound like some pretty stormy weather is going to be headed our way. But once that blows out, sounds like it could be a good weekend. People start to spend more time outside. Don't forget about Watson Materials, largest selection of landscape materials in Rhode Island. Call them 401 885 0600. Watson Materials. Remember, Watson Materials, the most complete selection of landscape materials in Rhode Island, landscape lighting, pavers, retaining walls, natural stone, Unilock, Fairstone, Cobblestone, Watson Materials. Call them today, 401 885 0600, 401 885 0600 for Watson Materials. Now, we will be, everybody on TikTok, we're going to sign off right now. We'll be back with another update a little bit later. So we'll just finish with everybody that is on X and also on YouTube and also our radio show. And then I don't know what happened. We'll check out with our Facebook feed. But folks, with the Karen Reed trial, what I was going to say right now, as we are at day 19, is, the thing about um, trials that are this long, and this is a long trial because you still have that the defense still has to put on their case, the prosecution still has to finish their case. And what I'm telling you is when you've had a long trial like this, where you have so much evidence and so much testimony, um, it's it's not easy for a jury. The jury that I have found, and I believe when I've covered different cases, is it's what the narrative, so to speak, becomes. What does the narrative become? As the jury is sitting there and watching all of this, there's definitely a narrative that has been formed. Now, when the defense gets up, the defense will then have an opportunity, and the defense is obviously going to try to change the narrative that has been designed. But I'm telling you right now, what I think that the prosecution, Hank Brennan, the Commonwealth, what he and his team have done is they have, they tell a story, and they've told a pretty easy to understand story that it was a night of drinking. She was driving. She was alone with him in the vehicle. And we have various witnesses that claimed that she was saying, I hit him. Now, it's very possible the jury is going to dismiss those witnesses. Maybe they didn't find them believable. You have the first responders. You have Nuttall. You have Katie McLaughlin. You have Jen McCabe, friend. Former friend, Kerry Roberts. Then you also have the niece. You have the first responder at the hospital that was asking him how long could someone survive outside in the cold without a coat on. So, you have the broken taillight. Now, if there are people that believe that the state police are liars, that Jen McCabe is a liar, that Kerry Roberts is a liar, that John O'Keefe's niece is lying, that the first responders are lying, I mean, I believe you'd have to take the position, in essence, that everybody's lying, right? In order to right now believe the conspiracy, you'd have to kind of go along under the guise of that everybody is lying. Now, what's really going to be crucial, is it possible that the defense has been able to sway the jury that this individual that's still on the stand, right, Shannon Burgess, have they been able to sway? Is it possible that he has not been truthful and he doesn't have the proper credentials, and as a result of that, of not having the proper credentials and catching him on his LinkedIn profile, that somehow he is not believable. That to me is still, that is an unknown for the jury. That's an unknown for the jury. He certainly seems like an expert. I'll give him that. He certainly seemed to present his firm, Aperture. They seem a very reputable firm. There's also going to be an accident reconstructionist that's going to take the stand. But I'm telling you, the fact that the state of Massachusetts, the prosecutors, have streamlined this case and made it very simple. There's no such thing as a perfect case, and people make mistakes. And when you had a storm of this nature and something that at the time seemed like a pretty kind of open and shut case, that's what it seemed like. I'm not making excuses for the way the investigation was done, but the investigation was maybe a little casual because it seemed pretty open shut, pretty clear at the time what had happened, which was just, she had been drinking a lot. They were fighting. She told people they were fighting. She backed into him, possibly didn't know it, left him, had the broken taillight. He was laying outside all night and then succumbed to his injuries regarding his head injury and then the cold temperatures all night. You think about shortly after 12:30, 1:30, 2:30, 3:30, 4:30, you're going on 5:30, 5.5 hours of being outside, laying on the grass. Now, you're covered in snow with the temperature. He was known that he didn't wear a coat. You see him arriving at the different places without a coat. It seems like an easy to understand story. I'll be curious. And the big thing I want to remind people and caution them, the defense will get their turn at bat. The defense will get a chance to make their case. And the defense is going to have to get up and show that there was some other cause of death. But as of right now, on this Tuesday of day 19, it doesn't seem, we haven't heard of something else plausible. People talk about reasonable doubt. We haven't heard another reasonable explanation. Remember, it's reasonable doubt, not unreasonable doubt. We haven't heard of another reasonable explanation of what had happened. That could be coming. There's still a lot of variables here. Things can happen in a trial. I'll also say this about the Karen Reed defense. Alan Jackson, David Yannetti, Bob Alessi, these guys they're very sharp attorneys, regardless of what some people think about them. They're not going to go away quietly. Look at how they go after someone that doesn't have their LinkedIn profile. Somebody found that. Any of the other witnesses need to be on guard. Then you better have your LinkedIn profile up to date because they're going to start to question you about it. Folks, this portion of the program is brought to you by J. Perry Paving. Now remember, high quality, fair pricing, exceptional service, 20 years experience. They specialize in commercial paving, residential paving, seal coating. J. Perry Paving, free estimate, any project. Call them today, 401 732 1730. 401 732 1730. You can also find them on Facebook. It's letter J. It's J. Perry Paving. And remember, no one is better with veterans than J. Perry Paving. 401-732-1730. 401-732-1730. Letter J, J. Perry Paving. Free estimate. And especially Father's Day is coming up next month. Be a great Father's Day gift. Your dad, your grandfather, get the driveway paved. And especially if they're a veteran, because J. Perry Paving, they have a special package for veterans. Call them today. 401-732-1730. 401-732-1730. Letter J. It's J. Perry Paving. So, folks, right now at 1:56, coming up, you're going to hear the 2 o'clock news. I will be going back into court for the afternoon session. And this is where Hank Brennan on redirect, he did certainly felt the need, it is true, to kind of rehabilitate his witness a little bit and try to, bring up the fact that the guy had not updated his LinkedIn profile. I don't remember anything like that in the court, but they certainly, Bob Alessi had a big day with it yesterday and certainly seemed to draw a lot of attention to it and throw some doubt on it. So, I think that this guy seems very believable. I've seen some people in court that I didn't think were very believable witnesses. One of the things that comes to mind was during the Plundome trial, the defense with Frank Correnti, they had a hearing aid specialist. There was a hearing aid specialist from Johnston, and they had the guy take the stand saying that Frank Correnti, who was chief of staff to former Mayor Buddy Cianci, that he was hard of hearing and how difficult it might be to understand someone that had an accent, because Tony Freitas, who was the cooperating witness, was from Portugal. And so he spoke with an accent. And so they had this hearing aid specialist, I forget, Beltone, maybe something on Atwood Avenue, Hartford Avenue. And the hearing aid specialist got up and said, it is true that Correnti was hard of hearing. And it is true that without the proper hearing aid, that he might have a difficult time trying to understand someone, let alone if someone was speaking in a different dialect. I mean, I didn't think that person, well, we know. I mean, Frank Correnti, who, by the way, has passed away, so many of them from Blood and Oil passed away. They didn't find that. My point is, I mean, that was someone that I don't think the jury found him believable. Staying with Plundome for a moment, David Eade. Richard Egbert tore into David Eade regarding his gambling habits, how the guy was always at Foxwoods. So, I mean, there are times when, quote, an expert gets on the stand and, they certainly can go after them. The question is going to be, what does the jury take, to me, what does the jury take away from this? And does the jury look at the fact that this, quote, expert was able to pair up the Lexus with John O'Keefe's cell phone and then come out with the result that they did? All right, folks, listen, coming up, we're going to have, if you listen to the radio, the 2 o'clock news. Everyone else, we shall see about Road Patrol Live coming up a little bit later, but I am doing Court TV tonight from 9 to 10. So I'm going back into court. In the meantime, enjoy this Tuesday.